Bill Frenzel and I are going to take a few moments to savor this moment of our anniversary, talk a little bit about it, and we'll get that behind us and we'll proceed to the next 3 decades. But looking backward is always interesting. In our case, at least, it was interesting. Bill has many reminiscences, not that many. Don't worry, we won't carry on forever. But we'd like to take this moment, and Bill, if you could bring us through this, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dick. I'm Bill Frenzel, one of the co-chairmen of the Bretton Woods Committee, and want to say that this meeting is looking to the future of global development, but it gives us an opportunity to look back at what we think are 30 pretty good years for the Bretton Woods Committee. As some of the historians among you might recall, the committee was founded in 1983. It was a period of special difficulties. Lawmakers in this country were having difficulties, and we had just seated a new administration in which there were some people who were not terribly impressed by the international institutions. The committee came together under those distressing circumstances when former Treasury Secretary Henry Fowler and Deputy Secretary Charlie Walker saw the need for an organized effort to ensure that leading citizens spoke up about support in the U.S. for the World Bank and the IMF. With the help of then World Bank President Tom Clausen and involvement by former Treasury Secretary David Kennedy, help from David Rockefeller, leadership from Henry Owen, Ed Freed, and Bruce McLaury, a conference was organized to discuss the U.S. support for the World Bank and the IMF. After the conference, the Bretton Woods Committee was formed, and the rest is history. And thanks to that very strong foundation, the committee has been quietly working with the Treasury departments of each administration and with the U.S. House and Senate leaders to remind us that lasting security and economic growth are tied to U.S. leadership on multilateral issues. For example, the 1987 and 2011 campaigns to win congressional backing for a major capital increase for the IBRD comes to mind as some of the battles in which the committee played a starring role. Over the years, we've recruited witnesses to dozens of hearings and plugged knowledgeable committee members into the media to discuss the need for global engagement. We have teamed with groups like the U.S. Chamber, the NAM, National Governors Association, Business Roundtable, World Affairs Council, Congressional Research Service, Bread for the World, many other organizations to show the impact of multilateral issues on the business sector and the civil society. Sometimes our organization offered an amplifier for other ideas. It was at our committee's 7th annual meeting that Secretary of the Treasury, Nick Brady, first announced the so-called Brady Plan to address the lack of global sovereign lending. And another high point in our career was the Bretton Woods Commission report of 1994, one which Dick Debs and Paul Volcker played important roles. And we unveiled then a comprehensive plan to respond to the calls for reform for both the bank and the fund. Now, many of those recommendations have been implemented. A few of them are still around and probably could stand some implementation today. In 2013, our 30th year, we've been at it again. We've hosted congressional education seminars, and we have got a letter written by 19 former top cabinet and legislative officials of both parties to support the IMF legislation, to which the Director General referred in her discussions. In 1986, the then president of the World Bank and former Congressman Barbara Conable said that the Bretton Woods Committee efforts to help the U.S. government explain the crucial work of the multilateral institutions may make the difference between success and failure in dealing with important issues. Given the vital work that these institutions do and how complex our economy has become, I hope that will be true for many more years to come. And I hope we will be able to take care of the IMF problem earlier referred to. So that's a very quick look at the last 30 years. We don't want to dwell on it because we've got a lot of work to do in the future, but we think it's worth remembering that we have done it before and we're going to be able to do it again. But we've seen that World Bank President Kim has laid out an ambitious example. And but we know that it will take a combined effort of the IFIs, the private sector, governments, and civil society to make it all happen. And we're going to be looking forward to the next 30 years. Dick, are you?
Thank you, Bill. I brought this thing up. This is one volume of the Bretton Woods Commission book that came out on the anniversary of the Bretton Woods institutions, on their 50th anniversary. That was 1994. And for those of you who are interested in history, it gives a very good reflection of where things stood then and what the future might have held and has held in many cases for the institutions themselves. A very, very thorough study at that point. And the bottom line was basically they are doing a very important, essential job, not only for the United States, but for the world. And that's something that we have to keep in mind. We're here in Washington. We talk about our relations with our Congress, our Parliament, but this, we must remember, is a world, these institutions are worldwide and global. I have to say a couple of words about where we stand. I've been fond of saying many times since the beginning, the earliest days, we, the committee, are a mean and lean organization. We have a very small staff, and but they manage to leverage our distinguished membership as volunteers to pursue the mission of the committee and thereby the mission of the Bretton Woods institutions. In more recent years, we have established a high-level international advisory council, recognizing that this is a global enterprise and everyone in the world is affected by what these institutions do. We've done that, we have global involvement and support, and yet our staff and our budget remain very small. But we do need financial support to maintain the mission, the work of the committee. So when you all get your annual fundraising letter, we trust, pleased that you will respond. And for those who haven't signed up to get this wonderful letter, we urge you to do so. And you'll help us all of us, to look forward to the next 30 years. And for that, we really appreciate what our membership has done to keep this organization alive and vibrant. Now, our next panel will take place. We're going to have some furniture moving here in a minute, and we'll proceed from there. And after that panel, we'll have a short break, assuming everything is on schedule. Thank you, and happy anniversary.